The OnePlus 8 Pro is finally coming with the most requested feature, and I'm going to be sharing all the details right after this. If you're new here and want to stay up to date with the latest tech, please hit subscribe, followed by the bell. So there's a feature that's commonly complained about in my comment section when it comes to pretty much every OnePlus smartphone release. It seems that the complaints may finally be over now, as the OnePlus 8 Pro may come with this feature. The first thing I want you guys to do is quickly go down to the comment section now and comment with your guess of what feature you think it is, and we'll see how many people get it right. With so many leaks coming in weekly and the way things are going, we're going to have many happy OnePlus fans. It was only a couple of weeks ago that we had reports of wireless charging coming to the OnePlus 8, and now we have this. Hopefully you guys have all entered your guess in by now, but as most of you probably know, OnePlus have never given official IP ratings when it comes to any of their smartphone releases. They've always taken the stance that including an official IP rating would increase the handset cost too much, but they have always made their devices unofficially water resistant. It does look like times are changing with the OnePlus 8, however, and not only is it going to be the first wireless capable device, the OnePlus 8 is also going to be their first smartphone with IP68 water resistance. The information comes from MaxJ on Twitter, who's tweeted a photo of the OnePlus 8 Pro outline in front of the word water. Unfortunately, there's no detail behind the tweet, so we don't know if this is for the whole OnePlus 8 lineup or just for the OnePlus 8 Pro. For those that haven't heard, the OnePlus 8 range was also rumoured to be launching at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona next week, which is much earlier than usual. Unfortunately, we're never going to know if there was any truth to this, as the event was cancelled after fears of the coronavirus. Since then, however, we have had news from Ishan that the phone is going to be launching earlier, but likely at the end of March or early April. When it comes to marketing, this makes much more sense as it's going to contain the Snapdragon 865 chip, which is already available, and the sooner they can get this to consumers the better. Also, it seems they release a T variant every year now, so creating a larger gap between the standard and the T model is a good move. Although at the same time, this also shortens the gap between the T model and the next gen model, meaning people may be a little more reluctant to buy the OnePlus 8T at the end of the year. For those of you that have missed it, we now pretty much have the full specs and pricing for the whole of the OnePlus 8 range, so I'll quickly run through it all to help you guys decide which model is right for you. When it comes to the OnePlus 8 range, this year we're getting 3 variants, and we may even see the OnePlus Concept One. If we start with the more affordable, the OnePlus 8 Lite. This is the first time OnePlus have ever delivered a Lite model, so it's going to be interesting to see how it performs in terms of sales. On the front of the OnePlus 8 Lite, we've got a full screen display with a single punch hole camera. The display is going to be a Super AMOLED display coming in at 6.4 inches. It's a Full HD Plus resolution of 1080 by 2400, and it's going to have a 90Hz refresh rate along with an in-display fingerprint scanner. It's believed that the selfie camera on the OnePlus 8 Lite is going to be a 16 megapixel Sony IMX471. When it comes to the rear, we've got a different camera arrangement on the OnePlus 8 Lite. It was initially thought that we'd get a dual camera setup on the device, but the recent news and photos claim that the OnePlus 8 Lite is going to have a triple camera setup. We get a 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 with an aperture of f4.7. We get a 16 megapixel ultra wide with an aperture of f2.2, and finally we get a 12 megapixel telephoto lens with an aperture of f2.4. It's also going to support both optical and electronic image stabilization. We've got the power button and the alert slider on the right hand side of the phone, with the volume buttons on the left, and the phone is of course powered by USB Type-C, and there's no 3.5mm headphone jack. While many were speculating that the OnePlus 8 Lite was going to be powered by the Snapdragon 765, the latest reports claim it's going to be using MediaTek's Indemsity 1000 system on chip, and this is going to be coupled with 8GB of RAM and a choice of 128 or 256 storage, which will of course be UFS 3. The phone dimensions reportedly come in at 159.2 by 74 by 8.6mm, making it smaller than the OnePlus 7, and it's reportedly going to be powered by a 4000 mAh battery with support for 30-watt fast charging. The OnePlus 8 Lite is expected to come in two variants, and the 8GB of RAM with 128 storage is reportedly going to be $428, and the 8GB of RAM with 256 storage will be $472. Next up, we've got the standard OnePlus 8. When it comes to the standard OnePlus 8, we can see it looks very similar to the previous models, although this time they've decided to go with a punch-hole selfie camera instead of the notch we're used to seeing. For the first time ever, we're getting a curved display on the standard model, and a news source claims that the OnePlus 8 is going to be a 6.4-inch 120Hz fluid AMOLED display. It's going to have a Quad HD Plus resolution of 1440 by 3140, and it will of course have an in-display fingerprint scanner. A new report claims the selfie camera on the standard OnePlus 8 is going to be the 32-megapixel Sony IMX616. As you can see, they've gone with the triple camera setup on the rear of the OnePlus 8, and they have stuck with the vertical alignment that we're used to seeing. The OnePlus 8 is reportedly going to be coming with a 64-megapixel Sony IMX686 with an aperture of f1.6 as the primary sensor. We'll get a 20-megapixel ultra-wide with an aperture of f2.2, and finally a 12-megapixel telephoto with an aperture of f2.4 and 5x hybrid zoom. The OnePlus 8 again has the power button and the alert slider on the right, with the volume rocker on the left and the SIM tray at the bottom. The device is powered by the Snapdragon 865 and the X55 modem, meaning we get 5G support on the standard OnePlus 8. It should be coming with a choice of 8 or 12GB of RAM and 128 or 256 storage, which is UFS 3. It's going to be powered up by a 4000 mAh battery, and there's a bit of confusion between the fast charging, some reports claiming 30 watts and others claiming 50, and it will hopefully have wireless charging as well. The phone dimensions come in at 162.6 by 75.9 by 8.8mm, and we do get stereo speakers on the standard OnePlus 8. The price of the OnePlus 8 with 8GB of RAM and 128 storage is expected to be $528. For 8GB of RAM with 256 storage, we're expecting $571, and for 12GB of RAM with 256 storage, we're expecting $614. Now finally, we've got the most premium model in the range, the OnePlus 8 Pro. On the front, we've got the same all-screen curved display, and while earlier leaks believed the OnePlus 8 Pro was going to have a dual punch-hole camera in the top left, we now believe that this could be a single punch-hole camera. The display is expected to be a 6.65-inch 120Hz fluid AMOLED display. It's going to have a Quad HD Plus resolution of 1440 by 3140, and it will of course have the in-display fingerprint scanner. A new report claims the selfie camera is going to be the 32-megapixel Sony IMX616. While people were expecting a 3D time-of-flight depth sensor, if it's only got a single punch hole, then this isn't going to be the case. The OnePlus 8 Pro is going to be the first from OnePlus to feature a quad camera setup on the rear. It's going to come with a 64-megapixel Sony IMX686 with an aperture of f1.6 as the primary sensor. We get a 20-megapixel ultra-wide with an aperture of f2.2, a 12-megapixel telephoto with an aperture of f2.4 and 10x hybrid zoom, and finally the 3D time-of-flight depth sensor. The device will again be powered by the Snapdragon 865 along with the X55 modem, meaning we do get 5G support, and it should be coming with a choice of 8 or 12GB of RAM, 128 or 256 storage again, which is UFS 3. We've got the power button and the alert slider on the right with the volume rocker on the left, and the battery capacity is reportedly going to be 4500 mAh, and it will support 50-watt fast charging. Again, we get stereo speakers on the OnePlus 8 Pro, and it's going to measure in at 165.3 by 74 by 8.8mm, so the same thickness as its predecessor. It was thought that this would again mean we do not get wireless charging, but recent leaks have pointed towards wireless charging, and it does seem very likely that we'll be getting it. The OnePlus 8 Pro is going to come with the same RAM and storage configurations as the standard OnePlus 8, so we get the 8GB of RAM with 128 storage for $714. We get 8GB of RAM with 256 storage for $786, and finally there's a choice of 12GB of RAM with 256 storage for $858. But with leaks pouring in every week, it's great that we have so much news for all models. As I said earlier, my most complaints in the comment section are always about wireless charging and official IP ratings, so if OnePlus can include these in the OnePlus 8, then it would put a clear stop to it, and I guess the only complaints then are going to be the 3.5mm headphone jack, which isn't coming back. As always though, I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments. Who out there is waiting for the OnePlus 8, the OnePlus 8 Pro, or even the OnePlus 8 Lite? Will the inclusion of wireless charging and official IP ratings that make you more likely to buy it? But thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, smash a thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down twice, and I'll see you guys in the next one.